All right, welcome everyone to my AMA for January 26th. Make sure it is the 26th. Sometimes I get these dates a little bit off, but yeah, January 26th. So welcome to my AMA for January 26th. I was just explaining before I started recording this. I'm doing a little bit of a change on my videos. You're going to see this a little bit of a transition, and I think it's going to be really good. In the past, my videos were 3 or 4 minutes long, and you had to, if you wanted to learn how to edit photos, you had to watch, 6, 7 different videos. Well, now it's going to be one longer video with chapters. So you can go to the chapter that you want, or you can just watch the whole thing as it goes all the way through. This is going to be a little bit easier on myself because I don't have to record, 5 or 6 videos for each different thing that I do or that the Photos app will do. Also, let's see if I can find my notes, because I have it for the Photos app. This is going to be one of the first ones. I'm going to create a longer video on how to organize your photos and videos, and I'll do it for the Mac, and then I'll also do one for the iPad, and then I'll also do one for the iPhone. So it's going to be these 3 videos instead of these 3 videos being like 18 of them, kind of thing. So for people that are just on an iPad, like Kevin, he could just go to the iPad version and learn how to edit photos. For people that are on an iPhone, they can just go to how it works on an iPhone. And for people that are on all the devices, they can go to whatever one they want and go to the chapter that they want to go to. I'm also kind of twisting this around and tying this in with some of my classes. So the class will complement, that's kind of my end goal. We'll see how far I get with that. But yeah, that's going to be kind of the new way that I'm going to be creating these videos, so then you can just kind of watch them all the way through. So that's what's going on at the back of the house here with my stuff. I also added a couple new classes. So I'm going to go to my site here, and before we get started here, I'll just show you. Added these last night. When I go to events, I added next week is going to be a get started with the Freeform app. That seems to be getting a little bit of attention these days, and it's actually really kind of cool. So we'll be taking a look at what this Freeform app can do. Then I go with an Ask Me Anything. The following week, we're going to be taking a look at safety check and account recovery and how all that works. And, actually one of these, the safety check, which is a great feature for people that are in, specific situations, but also what it is, it's a great feature for everyone else to just kind of review, what they're sharing with people. So you can just run through that safety check. So we're going to be taking a look at that. And then I also have a class on collaborating with Apple, especially with Mac OS Ventura and iPad OS 16 and iOS 16. Apple really amped up the collaboration, what you can do when you collaborate with Numbers, Pages, Keynote, or Notes, or even the Freeform app. Basically how collaboration works, and it works much simpler than what it has in the past. So we're going to be taking a look at, basically how you can share documents with other people, and there's a lot of documents you can save with the Apple, in the Apple ecosystem. So we're going to be taking a look at that. The last thing I want to mention before we get started with our questions is, in my ever-evolving change of my website, what I did last night is I used to have groups up here. It is now called forums, and it's a little bit simpler. The groups are added a layer of complexity, and I thought, let's just start out with keeping it simple. And with the forums, basically all you have to do is, if you're a member of the site, you can go in here and ask a question or whatever, and it just starts a discussion just like any other forum. So real simple, and then people can reply to it. I can reply to it, that kind of thing. And with the iPhone photography, this is still a group where you can upload photos and things like that. So just trying to simplify it as I ramp this thing up and kind of go forth with that. So that's what's new at the back of the house. All right. Let's get going with my AMA. I'm not going to do an introduction because most of the people here know me, and this was, I didn't put this really out to the public. I usually do that when I make them public so where anybody can kind of join and just kind of see what I do. But these AMAs, I keep them a little bit on the smaller side. So we're just going to jump right into it. All right, let's go back over to me here. And we're going to go with our first question here. Let's go. All right. Ron asked, when he attempts to print a web page.
What?
Going to turn your light on?
No.
I'm going to mute everyone, and then if you have a question, you can
No.
just you can unmute yourself and go ahead and ask. So give me a minute here. Find participants. That's where I go. There we go. And mute all. And just unmute yourself if you have a question. Looks like that's bumping into my head there. I need to move that over just a little bit. All right. Okay. Somebody enabled closed captioning. Thank you very much for that. That is one thing that I generally always forget. So thank you. All right. So Ron asked about when he attempts to print a web page, at times elements are missing. And what he's talking, when I say elements, this is a little bit longer what he was talking about. Basically what's happening from what I gather is sometimes the pictures don't print. So what can he do? How can he get everything to print? I don't have a clear solution for this, but I think I know what's going on. So let's go over to my Mac. And what we're going to do is take a look and see if I can replicate what Ron is talking about. Let me see. Is Ron here with us?
Yes, I'm here.
Perfect. All right. So let me see if I can replicate what you're talking about, Ron. So basically, when I go to, I have this article here. Oops, just close that. There we go. I have this article here. And when I go and print it, if it's in, well, here, let's just do this first. When you're looking at the article, you're going to see outside of the ads, it does have multiple pictures in there. But when I go and print this, when I'm looking at it this way, this thing's going to be like 12 pages long because it's printing all of the ads. All the pictures are there. So here's my question, Ron. When you go and print it, yeah, look at this. This is going to be 15 pages because it's ads and things like that. So what you can do when you print something is you can, or when you read an article, you can put it into reader view. So I'm wondering if you're seeing it in reader view, because when you go into reader view, what it does is it simplifies all of the layouts. So you're not going to see any ads in here. You can see that there's no ads.
That part has worked as far as getting rid of the ads, but still a lot of the pictures are.
All the pictures, right, but in some cases, all the pictures don't show up. So when I go to print here, you're going to see that the pictures, it had a lot more pictures, and I'm not talking about the ads, but it just had generally more pictures. It's not in there. And there's really not a whole lot that you can do about that. It's one or the other. Basically, the reader view is, stripping all of that stuff out, and in some cases, what it does, this picture here is full screen, and I'm wondering if it thinks that, because it's not there, I'm wondering if it thinks that it's an ad, so it just kind of strips it out here. Or another thing that will happen is when it strips it out, if it's a background picture, it might not print it. And being that this is going all the way to the edge here, as far as Safari or the printer is concerned, this is a background picture, so it won't print it. So what you can do, possibly, I'm going to try it here. I have print backgrounds. We're going to see if this works. Print backgrounds. Yeah, didn't work. Still not pulling it up. There's really not a whole lot that you can do when you, basically it's an on-off switch. So the only thing that I can think of is by using an external reader view. Maybe Google Chrome has a better reader view. I think Safari's pretty good, but if you're printing them, there's not a whole lot that you can do. Now, one thing that you can do you have an iPad or an iPhone? I'll show you a little trick here. Might work.
iPhone, yes.
Okay, so I'm going to go to my iPhone here, And what you can do is you can save. It's kind of a pain because now you have to go to your iPhone, so I get that. But let's go over to that page here. And when I go and take a screenshot of this and tap on it, what I'm able to do is read it as a full page. You can see full page here. And when you do that, you can see it on the side here. Whoops. And it is a full PDF. You know, it's still not there. That image isn't there.
It was leaving place
Yeah,
markers.
it doesn't like those images there.
Yeah, it's leaving place markers for all the images, but
Yeah, but it's not.
showing.
I don't have. There's really not a whole lot you can do. Basically, is I guess what I'm saying. So,
I was just hoping there was a magic answer.
no, nope. Unfortunately, not. So, all right. Yeah.
If the pictures are so important, I don't know how to do it on the Mac, but on the iPad or the iPhone, if you press on it, it will save those pictures to your photo library. So it won't be in the middle of your article, but if you really need or want those photos.
Yeah, and that works some of the time. So yes, I'm going to go back to my Mac. You're right. So let's say I wanted to save this photo. What I can do is Control click on it, and then you're going to see download image, and it'll download the image. And that works most of the time, but not all the time. It all depends on how the HTML page, the web page, is rendered. On a worst case scenario, what you need to do is just take a screenshot of it. If sometimes this doesn't work. Actually, let's just check it out with my site. It might not work on my site, just by how I created this. So this is an image of a Mac here. Yeah, you're going to see I can't download that image. Just not possible. So what you have to do there then is take a screenshot of it. So I would go Command-Shift-4. This is old school. You're going to see I have a little crosshairs there. And now what I'm able to do is take this and go like that. And it'll take a screenshot of just that area. And there's that photo there with my text, of course. But yeah, that's a good point. You can, download it, but it doesn't work on everything. I think I can do it with these. Yeah, these I can. Oops, try it again. I can save that as a download, but like I said, that top one I can't, just by the nature of how the website is built. So that trick works most of the time, but not all the time. A good fallback is Command-Shift-4. And then you can draw a marquee of what you want a photo of or a screenshot of. So. All right. Any other questions on that before we go to our next one?
Oh, thanks much.
Yep. All right. Let's see here. The next one is John asks if I can demonstrate PassKeys. So for those of you who are not familiar with PassKeys, I really got to move that over, don't I? That's hitting my head. So with PassKeys, basically what you're able to do is enter a website that you have to log into without actually using any passwords. It still uses a username, and I'll show you why that is, but you don't have to enter a password. And your password is never passed on to the website. So basically, the idea behind this, it's much like the credit card systems. When you use a chip on a card, you are not transmitting a credit card number. So if that site were to get breached, that stores your credit card, they wouldn't be able to do anything with it because they don't have that. They don't have a credit card number. They have what's called a token. Well, it works the same way with these new passwords, these passkeys. When you sign into a site, what it does is it sends a token, and that's a one-use token. So you can only use it one time, which means if somebody tries to do it again, it won't work. So that's how passkeys work. Basically, you need two things for it to work. You need to have the website set up for it, and then also, of course, your devices. Anything with iPad OS 16, iOS 16, and Mac OS Ventura and later are all set up for passkeys. Also, Apple is kind of pushing this forward, and other people are following. This is a This is Google and Microsoft are also on board with this. So this is not just an Apple exclusive feature, but it is being pushed out by Apple. They're the first ones to really embrace it, from what I understand. So there's not a lot of sites that are using it. But there are a couple of them out there. I used it on my site for a little bit, but I was running into a little bit of problem. People have had issues logging in, because they didn't know how it worked. So I will probably re-enable it at some later point when people get more comfortable, or maybe there's a better process for it. There are different ways that you can set it up, so I'm going to experiment with that. But I can show you how it works with Best Buy. Best Buy is actually using it. So let's go over to my Mac here, and I think Barry's the one that told me that Best Buy is using this from a different thing. But anyway, let's go over to Best Buy here, and what you're going to see here is sign in with PassKey. And the way that this basically works is you first have to sign in, and this is where I think my site kind of messed up. I was trying to do this with one step when really it's like 2 or 3 steps, and people would get confused. But basically the way that it works is you first have to sign in. This is the way that I would recommend doing it. And then from there, what you can do is create a passkey. And once you create that passkey, what you're able to do is then use that passkey in future sign-ins. So the first thing I do need to do is sign in. Now, eventually you will not need to do this, because that's the whole idea, is you don't want to create a password for a site. So eventually, I'm thinking that you won't even have to do this. But right now, this is the way that it works. So I go and sign in to Best Buy. So we're going to sign into my account here. If I were to say sign in with PassKey, it wouldn't work. Basically, what it'll do is it'll say, sorry, try it again. I mean, it can't find the PassKey because I haven't created it yet. So I go sign in. Whoops, sign in. Let's try it again there. We'll refresh. All right, so I'm going to skip for now. That is my email address. Yeah, continue anyway. Yeah. Now I'm logged into my site. The next thing that I need to do is I need to create a passkey. So what I do is I go to my account here. This is how it works on Best Buy. This is going to be the thing that could be, you're going to have to hunt and peck because every site's a little bit different. You're going to see passkey. And on my site, it was also under the account. So basically, this is where you'll find it. So I go passkey. I create a passkey. So now it's going to use biometric, my fingerprint there. And being that I'm using Apple iCloud for storing all of my passwords and all that, what this is doing is this is now creating a passkey. I can use the same passkey on my iPad and iPhone as long as I'm signed in with the same iCloud account. So that's really cool. You only have to create one passkey. So now I'm in. I have my passkey all set. You can see I have 2 passkeys because I tried this out earlier. If you want to remove the passkeys, you can remove them. So and now what we're going to do is we're going to log out and we're going to sign in with a passkey. So I go over here, I sign out, signing me out. All right. Now let's go and log in. So I'm going to sign in here. And now that I'm using a passkey, all I really need to do is click on Sign In with PassKey. Now, there's one trick to this. A lot of people think that passkeys are going to make it easier, and they do make it a little bit easier. But with iCloud password and 1Password and all that, signing in is really not that difficult to do, signing into a website, as long as you're using a password manager. So this passkey isn't going to make it necessarily easy. You're going to see I have to run through the, similar steps. But what it is doing is it's preventing the password from being passed over to the website. So I'm using a token, much like credit cards. I think that's the big key. It's just more secure. So I sign in with a passkey here. And here I still have to enter in an email address. Now, why do I have to enter in an email address? Well, like on my site, or let's just say that, Beth has an account with Best Buy. Maybe I want to sign in with Beth. So what you first have to do is tell it who you are. So I'm going to go with my email address. Let's see here. And this is where it gets a little strange. I don't really need to enter in my password here because I don't need my fingerprint. I'm not using autofill here. So I'm just going to go with cancel here, and I'm just going to type in Dan Wasink at Mac. This is why I say it can get a little tricky. Now when I click on continue, now it's asking for my fingerprint for my passkey. So now I lay my finger on there. It's passing that token, and now I'm signing in. So I can skip that for now and get into the site. So as you can see, let's skip for now. Continue. You wouldn't run into this if I verified my email. So as you can see, we're going to do it one more time. Passkeys don't necessarily make it faster, and there's still a little bit of a stumbling block because I go to account, I go to sign in, I enter in my password, touch the key, I go over to sign in with passkey, go to continue, and I have to touch it again. That's because the site still thinks it wants my password, so it's asking to use my fingerprint for the first time, which I really didn't need to do. It's just how it works. But the second one I did need to do. Does that make sense? So they're not, passkeys aren't necessary, it's not perfected yet, and I think that's what I found out with my site. It's not as smooth yet, but it's so new, that's why it's not so smooth. I think once sites get in, and I have to play around with the settings on my site, there are, like I say, there's different settings that you can use, and I can, follow a workflow. Once I figure out the proper way, I'll probably re-enable it on my site because it is really nice on the phone or on an iPad. So let's go over to my phone. Again, being that I'm using iCloud, it does know what that passkey is because it's sharing it. So now all I need to do is go to my account. Yeah. I'm going to sign in here and sign in with passkey, enter in my email. So I just tap on Dan Wasink. There's my passkey, tap on continue, and I'm in. You can see it was pretty smooth on an iPhone. Not so smooth on a Mac, but it's pretty smooth on an iPad and an iPhone, just because of the way that they verify things, with the Face ID and things like that. So is John here? Usually he is. But, yep. Does that answer your question of how it all works? You have any questions on it? Okay.
No,
all right.
That's good. Thank you.
Yeah. A little tricky. It's a little tricky yet, but we'll get there. So. All right. Let's see here. This one, Deborah asked how to subscribe to my events. She actually emailed this, and I thought this would be a good little question just to slip in because there's a couple of different ways to subscribe to my events. So let's go over to my Mac, and it works on the iPad and the iPhone the same way. But when you go to my site, and you go to events here, what you are able to do is subscribe. So this is the first way. But also when you go to an event, I'm just going to open this up in another tab here. What you're able to do is, once you register, there it is. You can add this to your calendar. So she was getting confused on when she does one and then she does this one and then all of a sudden it will double up. And I understand where the confusion came from. These are doing two completely different things. And a lot of times we just kind of pass over, what it says here. But in this case here, this says subscribe, and that's a key indicator. And this says add. So when you subscribe to this calendar, what it is going to do is add. Let's go ahead and subscribe. what it is going to do is add a new subscription to your calendar. And what it's going to do is populate that with all of my events. So I'm just going to call this Dan's Tutorials subscription, just so we can see the difference here. Click on OK. And now we can see we have my events in there. And as I add new events, what this is going to do is add them in there. You can see I have it in here twice because I, again, tried it out and I didn't erase the old calendar, so I have two different subscriptions in here. Let's go, let's see here. We'll get rid, that's one I just added. So here's one that's one I did earlier, so just ignore that one. All right, so here's one I just added, and we can see has them all in there. And again, if I add more events or move them around, they'll be automatically updated. It'll be automatically updated by default. Let's go and get subscription settings here. Oops, edit, get info. There it is. It's going to auto refresh once a week. Now, generally, I would say for anything, you don't need to go every 5 minutes, 15 minutes, but I think once a day is good, because if I go and move an event or add an event, there's a possibility that you will not find out for another week. I mean, I guess it depends on how critical this is. But if you go once a day, it's good. So that works really great for that kind of thing. But now, when you click on, or I shouldn't say, but now when you click on it, and when you click on it, what you're able to do is click on this and it'll take you to that page, and then you can join the meeting, this, that, and the other. So it works really well. But let's say you didn't want to have a subscription. Well, also what you can do is just add an event. So this is just going to add this one event to your calendar. And even though I'm talking about this in my site is a perfect example of this, but this is how, basically how it works across, multiple sites. So when you see something, sometimes it can be a subscription to all of their events, and then other times it could just be a single event. So when I go and click on this, when is this one? This one is March 9. So when I go and click on this, open it up in calendar, I hit subscribe, and we'll just call this one event. It's a single event. And now you're going to see it didn't add all those events, but there it is on the 9th, because it added that one single event. So I think what Debbie was doing, and what we can do, is okay, add it as an event, and then when you go and add it as a subscription, so you can see all of the events. That would probably be the best way. That's what I would recommend doing. But if you don't want to have that in your calendar, you can also add it as just a single event. So you have subscribe, and then you have add. Yeah.
This was really phenomenal. And as you noted, when you did the subscribe to calendar, it puts the Zoom link in there.
Mm-hmm.
When you do the add to calendar one, it also, and you even said it as you were talking, it has you subscribe to that event. So the word subscribe is still in there, which was the part that was very confusing.
Yep.
And when I would do that by adding it to the calendar, and you will note on your calendar that you will see all of these Dan's things that have these subscriptions that it's sending out broadcasting to. Each one of them is a subscription. Mm-hmm. So it was initially, and still is, a little confusing, but I understand how it works best now, because now it works great.
Right.
I love the fact that I subscribe to the calendar and it populates the Zoom link. It populates all the events.
Right.
It's fabulous.
Thank you. Well, it doesn't, when Deb's talking, it doesn't, it puts the Zoom ID in there, which is really nice. And if you know the password, which typically is always the same password, I try to keep it the same password. But on a worst case scenario, it does have the link to the website, and then you can always get to it from the website as well, which is really nice. So what she's also talking about here, and I did kind of skip over it, add to calendar. Okay, that's cool. I want to add it to my calendar. This is going to be the single event. But watch what happens when I click on iCal. Subscribe.
Right.
And that is an Apple thing, really. You know, basically you are still subscribing, but you're only subscribing to one event, where the other one is you're subscribing to my calendar, all of my events. So, and that it's just the nature of the beast. It's still a subscription in Apple's eyes. It's just to a single event. So it can get confusing. Yep.
Dan,
Yeah.
I put it on my phone while you were telling us, and then I checked on my iMac where I'm sitting, and it's not coming up on that calendar.
It might take, when you do that, it might take a while, especially if you're not using Apple's iCloud. But even with iCloud, as long as you have iCloud syncing, it will work. I've noticed I use Google Calendar for a lot of my stuff, just because it's a little more powerful for business, that kind of thing. iCal is great, or Calendar is great from Apple, great for consumers, but it does lack some of the things that Google Calendar has. But anyway, point being, when I put something on Google Calendar, it can be up to an hour before it shows up on my other devices. So it doesn't, as long as you have in your system, I'm using macOS Ventura here, so we have system settings. As long as you have, when you go to your iCal or your iCloud settings, and you have calendars checked here,
Yeah.
and it's with the same Apple ID as your iPhone, and then go to your settings on the iPhone, do basically the same thing. As long as it's signed in with the same Apple ID, and you have calendars checked, they will show up. It just might take a little bit. Sometimes, for some odd reason, it takes a little bit longer, especially if you're using Google or Outlook. Those don't sync quite right away. Let's go and see if it's there. Yeah, there they are. So they're on this one. So
Yeah. Question. Can I ask a question?
yeah.
What about deleting? Sometimes I have trouble deleting the things that went on.
So yeah, essentially what you want, being that it's a subscription, what you
Right.
can't do is you can't delete the event because it's a subscription. So what you have to do is just go over to this calendar here, and you have to unsubscribe.
Okay.
And then when you unsubscribe, what you're able to do is report it as junk. Don't do that to mine, please. But you can, just unsubscribe, and what it'll do is it'll remove that calendar, and now you can see they're all gone. And it'll be removed from my other ones as well.
What if you wanted to just remove one? You just don't.
You can't
remove
because
it.
it's a subscription.
Yeah.
I'm the one who's populating your calendar, so I'm the one who's in control of what's in and what's out of
Other
it.
people, yeah, right. But so are a bunch of other people.
Yeah, right.
But I like
Yep.
having the link go with it, and that's great. When you subscribe, you get the working link.
Right.
Rather than waiting for the ticket. Dan, one quick question. I, at the moment, have it done every week for, how often the settings will be changing. Can I change that to every day?
You can.
I tried to go on the site to do that, or on the.
You have to go in. You have to go into your calendar. So I still have this one up here. This is one I tried earlier. So I'm going to turn it back on. We can see my settings here. What you need to do is just control click on it if you're on a Mac, and then you go to Get Info. You'd think it'd be under Subscription Settings, right?
Right.
Not in Apple's mind. You have to go to Get Info. And when you go to Get Info, you can set it to auto refresh. So here is where I would say auto refresh every day. I don't think you'd have to go every hour or any sooner than that. I mean, that's just unnecessary bandwidth or any, things like that. And if you're on, I was on the Mac and the iPhone. Let's just take a quick look at how we can do that on an iPad. So, I'm on my iPad here, and again, we're going to see there's the calendars. And when I go here, subscribed, if I tap on the I here, what I'm able to do is go to subscription details. Where can I set how often? Subscription details. No, not in there. Okay. Maybe it is under. All right, now it's giving me a little bit of a challenge here. And anyone have any? Not now. Any idea where I would find that?
I'm gonna look on my phone.
Thank you. Yes, yeah, yeah. There's got to be a place. Here we go. Fetch. So on the iPad and iPhone, it's called Fetch. So basically, it'll just pull it every once in a while. And what you would do here is just go and, well, here, those are push. That subscription. Here's where you can say how often. That's for mail. Huh. All right, we'll come back to that. I don't have an answer for how you do that on an iPad or an iPhone. There's got to be a place where you can set that. You'd think.
Didn't see it. Don't
Yeah.
see it.
So maybe you can't do that on an iPad or iPhone. Subscribe to this updated provider. Well, if I find an answer, I'll let you know. So I'll have to do this in a later AMA. But anyway, you can kind of get the idea of how it all works. So, all right, let's see what we have next. And this one is, Cindy asks, does the iPhone SE have Magsafe? So she was talking about the little, on an iPhone, what you can do, you can charge things magnetically, much like the watch. And basically, it doesn't. Most of Apple's devices have that MagSafe, and it's really kind of cool. You could put a wallet behind it. You can, attach, different things to it via magnets. But the iPhone SE, it might be the only phone that Apple, I don't even know if they're still selling it, but the SE does not have it. So this is a real quick answer. I looked it up. Just like Cindy said, doesn't have it. So, all right, let's go with our next one here. Chuck asks if iCloud sharing can send notifications when files are added or changed. So he is the member of a user group, and they used to use Dropbox, and now they're using iCloud. Of course, they have to go all Apple, being an Apple user group, right? So what he is wondering is if with Dropbox, when you put a file into a folder, what it would do is it would you could alert someone or it can send a notification saying that there's a new file there or a changed file or things like that. Basically, with iCloud, you can't do it. There's not any type of notification. The only way that it really works with notifications on iCloud, and I'll talk a little bit more about this with my class on collaboration, because that's basically what you're doing. You can set up, I believe, notifications when you're doing a Pages document. So if I go and make a change in a document, it'll notify somebody. I believe it does that. And I'm not even sold on that yet, but I think it does do that. But what he's talking about, what Chuck's talking about in this most simplistic form is, can you do it? He wants, he would like he had with Dropbox, he would like it to notify other people when he puts a file in there. And the short answer is no, you can't. And that is, the difference. One of the reasons why iCloud is not necessarily set up for a business. A lot of businesses still use Dropbox, and it has its distinct advantages, that being one of them. But iCloud has, to me, its distinct advantages too, and especially for consumers. And in Chuck's cases, and I think he did say this, if you can't do it, then then they'll just have to deal with that and not worry about it. I think he used it as an archive anyway, so it's not that big of a deal. But that is a big difference between something like iCloud and a business class cloud sharing like Dropbox. So they have those notifications and things like that built in. So it's just a little bit more robust. Who knows? Maybe we'll see it in a couple of years. All right. All right. Betty asks, when she saves her files to her desktop, they will sometimes disappear. And I believe Betty's here with us. I think I saw her. She emailed earlier too. Yeah. I'm not necessarily sure why they would disappear. Let's just go over to my Mac and see if we can replicate what she's doing and see if there's a possible reason why. So, Betty, I'm on my Mac here. Yeah.
And when you did the 2 screenshots with the first question, I watched them disappear from your desktop. Where do they go?
Oh, I thought this may be it. So, screenshots, it's set up as a stack. Could that be it?
Oh, no, because I'm not using stacks.
I thought that maybe that could be it, but I wasn't sure. So for those that are not familiar with stacks, I'm a big fan of stacks. And basically what will happen is if I go and add a file in here, let's go and take another screenshot. It's going to go down in the corner here. It's going to show up on my desktop. And then it's going to disappear. Well, it doesn't disappear. It goes into the stack. But Betty's not using stacks, so that's not what she's running into. I'll turn this off. And it's very easy to turn on and off. Just use stacks. And now there they are. What I would do, the first thing I would check is to see if your Mac is sorting them in some way. And, basically when you have your desktop, by default, I can place these anywhere I want. And as I add new files, let's just go and duplicate this, I can put them anywhere I want. Well, what you can also do is have the Mac sort them for you. And when you have, and the reason why I say this is whenever you have any kind of automation like this where the computer can sort things for you, that adds to the less predictability in some sort, where all of a sudden the computer's moving stuff and you don't realize it. Although when you sort it, it still should be on your desktop. But anyway, if I go to View, keep hitting that twice. Go to View, you're going to see Sort By. And what I'm able to do is sort this by name. And then, must be at a different angle there. What it's going to do is it's going to keep these sorted. Now, it still will not make them disappear. But if I go and add, and if you have a lot of desktop items on your desktop, maybe it's still there and you can't find it. I've seen that as well. But when I go and add a new, you can see that if I go, it's just adding them and it's keeping them sorted. So if I go and add a new folder here and a new folder, and let's go with this. I think it's ordering them by name. So let's just say I rename this one Hi. What it's going to do is it's going to move it up towards the top there because it's keeping it sorted. If you have it sorted by kind, things could move around. So I can go and sort it by kind. So now I have these folders here, and when I go and add, let's go to my downloads here. And we're going to add this PDF in here. You're going to see it's going to move everything. It just moved my screenshots. Let's go and add another one. My screenshots is slowly moving down. So it doesn't necessarily make them disappear, but when you're sorting by that, what it could do is move them around without you realizing what it's doing. So that'd be my first thing is just see if it's sorting them somehow, and just turn that off. Just go to none. Or if you want to keep them organized, what you can do is go to cleanup. And when you clean it up, I can say clean up by name. It cleans it all up, but it is a one-time thing. So now I can go and move these around. Mac doesn't care at this point. It was just a one-time cleanup. Oh, my desktop's getting messy again. Go in here, clean up, and it cleans it back up. So, see if the sorting is on. Do you think that could be it? Do you have a lot of items on your desktop?
No, I have a clean desktop, and right before I joined this Zoom, I did 2 screenshots and I watched them. You know, they were sitting one at a time, you know, sitting on my desktop, and then it disappeared, and I can't even find them. I
Is it always with screenshots?
Yeah, well, that's strange. I put a PDF on my desktop this morning and it's still there.
Okay.
So
So maybe it's always with
right-
screenshots.
right
So,
now I'm thinking it's always with screenshots. I thought it'd be in recents, but I don't see anything there.
all right. So let's go and take a look at your screenshot preferences. By default, what will happen when you take a screenshot is it'll move it to your desktop. So this is a default behavior of the Mac. But when you use Command-Shift-5, there's multiple ways to take a screenshot. Command-Shift-5 is like the everything. What I'm able to do is, you know, capture the entire screen. I can capture the selected window, blah, blah, blah. But under options here, what I'm able to do is set where I want to save it to.
Okay.
So I'm wondering if it's saving it to a different folder.
I will check that one out.
So let's just try this. And now I have it set to save to the desk, to my documents, right? So let's go and take this screenshot. So I'm just going to capture it. It's there in the corner.
Huh?
And it disappears. But if I go to my documents, there it is.
Okay.
So
And if
Command-Shift-5, and then you can see all of your options there.
Okay. And if you'd have sorted your documents by date, it would
Yeah.
have been
It would have been at the top, yes. Yep.
good.
Yep.
Okay, I'm gonna check it out and let you know.
All
Thank
righty.
you.
Okay, let's see here. Carol asks about autofill being inconsistent. She sometimes has to enter a password yet. And why is that? So let's take a look at back at our passwords here. So get rid of that screen and go over to my Mac again. And basically, the way that, well, first of all, I would make sure that I'm going to assume, is Carol here?
Yes,
Are you using 1Password or are you using Mac for saving your password, the iCloud?
yes.
iCloud? Okay. All right. Then I can help you out a little bit better with that. I'm not I don't use 1Password. So, is it when, so I'm going to, actually, we'll pick on my site here. And if you go and enter in your password here, it sometimes doesn't remember this password. Is that what you're saying?
No, what happens is if it comes up just like yours, I click on it for, if I'm on my iMac for my finger, and then I get another pop-up screen that says, enter your computer logon password. And when I enter the computer logon password.
Okay. So then you have to enter okay, so it's the iCloud keychain part of it is working properly. It sounds like are you using macOS Ventura?
I'm using the most current.
Okay. So you have system settings here. Does that look familiar?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I mean, I could probably show you with system preferences too, but system settings, since we're using the same thing. The first thing I would check, so the reason why this may be happening is it's asking for your password with your fingerprint, but now what's happening is your computer needs to authenticate that it is you. So the fingerprint is there, but it still needs that computer password. And generally, where that happens, and I can't imagine it'd be this, but maybe it is. This is the first thing I would check, is if we go to users and groups. So every computer has a user, and the user should be an admin. I'm a big fan. I know other people would be like, they'll create an admin user, and then they log in and create another user that is not an admin. But you run into headaches at least I think you run into headaches when you do it that way. So I would make sure if you have one, my guess is you probably have one user on there. Well, if one, maybe you have two. Basically go in here and make sure that you're an admin.
Okay, yes, I'm the only user.
Okay. And that, so it should be admin. You can't really have anything else there if it's not. Okay. Then let's take a look at Touch ID and password. We're going to see if we can see login password has been set. Yep. Use Touch ID, AirPin, used for purchases. I would make sure that all these are on. This is where it uses Touch ID for autofilling passwords. It sounds like it may be on, but I would just make sure that that is on, all of these. There's no reason why they shouldn't be off in my mind, my opinion, I should say. Then, what would be another? Anyone have any suggestions on this one, what may be going on? Switching users, not going to be that.
I don't know if this has anything to do with it, but time-wise, when this started, I was having another issue that I had to call Apple about.
Okay.
And after going through.
What'd they have you do?
The supervisor had me create a separate user, which ultimately I went back in and I deleted, but we did several things that I think I tried to undo most everything. But it seems like that occurred close to the same time.
Are you near an? I'm pretty confident I know what's going on. Are you near an Apple store?
I am right now, but my Mac is back in my house in North Florida, not close to one.
Not close to one. Okay, so I think this is what's happening, and it would be pretty tough for me to try to, obviously you're not at your computer, so I couldn't fix it anyway. So basically what's happening with a Mac, there is an app in here called Keychain. Every Mac has it. And basically on the keychain, this is where all of your different passwords are stored and all that. And you have a login password or a login keychain. So when you go and use something or whatever, as long as you are logged into your computer, all of these passwords, if I click on login, these are all of the passwords that I can use as long as I'm logged into my computer. And this list can get really long. This is my demo computer. That's why it's pretty short. So what happens is when you created a new user and Apple had you do, basically a few little things, this login changed. So what it's trying to do is it needs to have what your old login password. Did you change your computer password at all through that whole ordeal?
I don't think so.
Okay, but it's still. My guess is you probably have two logins here, and that so it just needs the one login is being authenticated when you log into your computer, but now when you want to go and use a password, it wants to go to your other login, which would be like right down here, and then you have to enter in that computer password. So a way that you could get around that, if you want to test this, we'll see. The keychain can be a little scary at times, but it's really not too bad. This will test it. I'm going to hide my Safari here, and let's go back into Stacks. We'll just clean this up here a little bit. Okay, so when you get back to your Mac in Florida, see if you can remember how to do this. What you want to do is you want to open up your Keychain Assistant. And the way that you do that is you need to go to your Utilities folder. Your Utilities folder is located in your Applications folder. Pretty simple. Just go up under Go when you're in the Finder, and then you're going to see Utilities. This is nothing new. It's been there since macOS 0.9, kind of thing. I want to say with Next Computers they had this. So you're going to see these are all like the little utility applications that people generally don't get into. There's going to be one here called Keychain Access. And when you open this up, what I'm curious about is, are you going to have 2 logins here?
I don't want to.
I know you don't. No, you don't want to. But my guess is you do. And
okay.
what I'd like you to do is, one of them is probably going to be locked. What I'd like you to do is just click on it. You enter in your computer password. It's going to unlock it, and then it's going to unlock all of your different. And you shouldn't have to run into that. So short term, this will just confirm that that's what it is. If you see 2 logins, that's probably what it is. Now, long term, how do you fix that? That's going to be for another topic of discussion, and that's why I say probably best if you actually had did it in store. They would be able to merge these together, because these keychains. This is all your passwords and everything, so you just want to be a little cautious with it. But I would say you'll basically go into your utilities folder, see if you have 2 logins. If you do, that is the problem. The next step would be how to find a solution. So, and then we can work on that later. But let's just see if that's it before I explain how all that works. So if you can do that, when are you going back to Florida?
Sunday.
Okay. So yeah, just email me or whatever, and let me know if that's what it is, and then we can go from there. So
I will. Thank you.
my guess is that's it. So
Thank you.
all right, that is all I got. So basically, we can turn this into a little bit of an open Q&A. I want to thank everyone for their support before we go on. And anyone have any other questions or comments or anything?
Yeah, Dan,
Yeah.
Floyd Beavers here.
Hi,
What she just said, it does it with my Mac too.
does it?
And I just went in to utilities and I've only got 1 login.
You only got 1 login.
And almost all the time it asks me, what's the password for this computer when you log in?
When you log into when you need to log into a website, that's what it's doing.
Not all of them. I don't
Not
think,
all of them.
But I get it a lot. And I still get that background stuff. It's driving me nuts. Where it
What?
comes up and tells you got background and notifications.
Oh, yeah, that, I think you brought,
Yeah.
that was a bug. Apple kind of admitted that. And I think with the latest update, they fixed that. So what he's talking about there is, I'm sure I was annoyed with it as well. Every time you restarted your computer, there was a little notification saying, this app is, because I have a lot of apps that log in, this app is logged in, and I have to click on it. That was a bug. I don't see it too much anymore, so I'd make sure that there's an update. Let's go back over to, you're not looking at
And
my
when
Mac.
I try to log into a website that is requiring a passcode and I'm on my Mac,
Yeah?
it always asks me to log into my Mac because Keychain won't unlock that password unless it verifies that it is me.
Right. That is exactly what the problem is, and usually it's because you have 2 keychains. But was that Floyd?
I
That,
don't.
Yeah,
but you don't.
Floyd only has 1.
Yeah.
Look at it. And it's unlocked.
And that was my next question. It is unlocked.
Yeah.
Dan, does it have anything to do with having, which I have 1 password for my Apple ID that goes with that. And on my iMac, after I had some work done on it, I have a separate password for the Mac.
Shouldn't matter with that.
Okay.
I thought it
Shouldn't
was a
matter.
security feature.
Yeah. No, it's an annoyance feature.
What are the other things out there in keychain? It's just system keychain.
There's so much in there. I mean, it's your Wi-Fi
No, I
password.
mean, if I go to keychain
Oh, yeah.
and I look, under the left-hand column, it says log on and iCloud.
Mm-hmm.
Below that, it has system keychains.
This is where
System-
you, yeah.
System and keychain root.
Yep. This is all real nerdy stuff. There's my networks. Bluetooth. I don't have anything connected to Bluetooth, but you can see that has application password on it.
All right, that looks the same. Okay,
yeah.
I just didn't see them before.
Nope. This is nothing. I mean, I'm sure on my regular Mac it's a lot more. These are trust certificates for different websites. So when you go to a website, it downloads the trust certificate. So like with mine, I don't know who gives my certificate out on my site. It might be Kinsta. That's who hosts it. But anyway, you
Hey,
know,
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock.
Yeah.
All right.
My wife likes news. Got to have news at 6 o'clock. I didn't know it was unmuted.
It is 6 o'clock.
It's like my wife and I too. News is on. That's our little standing joke. News is on. All right. Wow. I'm going to look into this a little bit now that I see that a couple other people. I'm curious about this. Why you may have that. Barry, do you have any ideas with that?
Mine says passwords are locked. Enter the password for the user Deborah iMac to unlock.
Yeah, I haven't run into that at all.
Yeah.
All right, I'll look at it next time real lot closer and make sure it does it with them all.
Yeah, and I'm gonna look, see if I can't replicate, but I'm gonna see if I can try to replicate it or see if I can find anything out with it, and then we can come back to it. So I just replicate this slideshow, so I can just leave that slide up there, and then we can look at it next time. So, yeah.
All right, Dan, thank you.
Yeah, that's a
I
good
have
one.
to-
That's a good one.
I have
Those
to run.
keychains. So.
Hey, Dan, you said you don't use 1Password. Is there another manager that you prefer on that?
I use Apple's iCloud. I used to use 1Password, and it's great. I know people love it. It does a lot. It does more than, it's kind of like the Dropbox scenario. It does more than what I need it to do. All I want to do is just manage my passwords, and 1Password is overkill for that. I mean, iCloud
That's kind of
can
what I have.
easily do that. Now, manage your identity and all this other kind of stuff, and that, you know, licenses and all that. 1Password does that really well where iCloud doesn't. But I don't need that. I don't use that. So it all depends on what you want. So when I say I don't use 1Password, it's not because I don't like it. It's just not a good fit for me. So
Gotcha.
I put a lot of other information in with the password.
and that's what it's great for. It does a great job of categorization and all that. So yep, absolutely. And if I did use a separate one, it would be one. I can tell you this because there's Keeper out there, and I mean they're all pretty good. But I would definitely use 1Password. That's what I would use if I used a third party. I would use 1Password.
Well, what happens when you have them both?
When you have them both, what happens is you can choose which one you want to use. So I don't know if let's see if I have.
No, I mean if I go on to a site
Yeah. No.
and and the password is in keychain and also 1Password.
Yep. You'll be able to choose.
What comes up on the screen?
You'll be able to choose. I'm going to show you. Well, I'll show you what happens. I can't actually show you. So I'm on my site on the iPad, and when you go to sign in, you're going to see down in the lower right-hand corner this little key. So right now it's pulling this from iCloud Keychain. We can see that right here.
Yeah.
But let's just say I had 1Password. I want to pull the password. This particular password is stored in 1Password. You click on the little key here, and then what you're able to, oh, look, I must have been demonstrating, or someone had a question on LastPass. You're going to see there's LastPass. Again, I would use 1Password, but so then you can choose a different password manager to get it from. So it's still pretty simple. You just click on the little key there and then choose 1Password, and then all of a sudden 1Password will know what site you're on, and it will pull up the password that you need. So they tried to make it as seamless as possible. If you actually go to the settings and you go to passwords here, you're going to see up at the top password options, and there's LastPass. So if I wanted to use Chrome in here too, I could use Chrome. Turn that off. So you can use multiple ones in there. Now it won't give me that option because I just have iCloud in here. So if I go back over to my site, I refresh. You can see it's not giving the option to choose a different password manager because I don't have it turned on. So it's not real difficult. A couple extra steps in there. And I did that for a while. When I transitioned from 1Password to iCloud, I kept them both on. In fact, I think it's still on my iPhone because I have, 1,000 passwords in my in 1Password. I was a 1Password user for years, and then I just decided I need to learn how Apple does it, and it was pretty good, and I didn't need to pay for it anymore for what I needed it for. So, but I still have it on my phone. I don't pay for it, but I still have it on my phone, so I can look up an old password if I needed to. But anything, I've been using iCloud now for several years, so if there's a password that I need to look up, it's probably out there in the dark web somewhere as well. So, so somebody else could probably look it up for me too.
Dan?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a different question. It's
Yeah.
about the calendar. Like, for instance, a great example is I try to, or I like to save your meetings to a calendar once I register and it comes back. I thought that sometime your emails, when they come back, say save to calendar. I don't know. This one did not. Others have not. So I have to literally go into the calendar and set the calendar up. So I guess my first question is related. Is there usually a link on there to save to calendar? Because I thought there used to be.
I don't know if there is in the email, but what you can do easily is just when you sign up for wrong button there. When you sign up for one of my events, let's just go to this one here. And you're going to see start over. You're going to see that I have all new software with this new website, and one of the things that it does is 15 minutes before the meeting. So you really don't need to have the Zoom link and all that. You can just click on this and it'll join, or you can click here and it'll join through Zoom. And this only shows up 15 minutes beforehand. So any of these links, and I'll get back to your question in a minute, Kevin. Any of these links, when you add it to your calendar, I say it brings you back over to the website. It doesn't actually put the Zoom link in there, but you still can easily access. Basically click on that link. It'll take you back to this page, and then you just click on join the meeting. So back to Kevin here. Yeah, what you'll need to do, Kevin, is. And I'm going to add a note here. But what you'll need to do is
add to calendar.
Yeah, add to calendar, and then
I don't think I usually see that, but sometimes I do. Okay, whether it's for your meetings or for others.
Yeah.
And that's going to be the other question. You see, it says Google Calendar, iCalendar, Outlook. I don't know what calendar I have. I mean, I thought it's out iCalendar for
Well,
but
yeah,
I don't know because it comes up with a Google address, which I don't understand. Why is there a Google address? So I'm really kind of confused about that.
Yeah,
So
and you're not the only one. But basically, iCalendar, is that what they call it there? Yeah. iCalendar is a standard out there that pretty much all the platforms use. So a safe bet is go here. When you do that, what it's going to do is download a file. This is basically how it works. And it opens it up, and there it is in my calendar. So that's real simple to do. It just downloads a file. I don't have to log into anything, this, that, and the other. But if you have a Google account, maybe, there's, I think your school uses Office 365, if I'm not mistaken. But, the school that I help out at uses Google for all their stuff. I wish they used Office. But basically, if I needed to add this to my school calendar, you're going to see that this doesn't, I could go in here and I could, I can't even tell it which calendar to subscribe to. And that is where, there it is. Now I'm able to move it to a different calendar. I can move it to whatever one I want. So with Google, what it's going to do is it's going to ask me to log in via Google. So now I would log in with my school account. I'm logged in already. You can see I'm logged in here. And what this will do is this will just add it to my Google account now, my Google Calendar. And to add confusion to it all, Calendar can show Google Calendars. So it really all depends on what people use. And for the most part, you can use iCal. That is the standard. That is not an Apple thing. iCal is basically all the programs use it. But with Google Calendar and Office 365, you do get more features. Like say, I use my Dan at Dan's Tutorials is based off of Google, and I use Google Calendar. That's because Google Calendar will integrate with Zoom. Google Calendar will integrate with different pieces where iCal or Calendar from Apple is bare bones basic. It works for most people, but if you are doing any kind of business, go to the Dropbox story again. You need to have a little more robust Google, and I'm sure Outlook is the same way, but it is amazing what you can do with that calendar, integrate it with other apps and things like that. So back to what do you do? What's that?
Dan, will the Google Calendar, can you set an alarm so that you get alarm like 15 or 20 minutes
Yep.
before the meeting?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Can I ask
Yep.
you one more quick question?
Yeah.
When I try to use contacts on my Mac, I consistently get the revolving rainbow wheel and it freezes and locks up. It doesn't happen on my iPhone.
Time pass. What is that?
When I use my contacts, when I try to change an address or add a new
Oh, contact. Sorry. Yep. Okay. All right.
Yeah, I get that revolving wheel and it locks up, and it doesn't do it on my iPhone. It just does it on my Mac.
And you force quit it and you get the same thing?
Yeah.
Can you get it to open at all?
Yeah, it'll open.
Eventually it'll
And
open?
once I
Okay,
try
what I
starting
would-
something with it,
What I would do, I wonder if there's a contact in there that is bad. So essentially you could export your contacts out. So if I go to contacts here and you can export it out as an archive and then delete all your contacts, see if it works fine, and then you can import that archive back in there. Another thing you can do is if you're using iCloud or Google or Outlook back on the different accounts here, you can turn those off individually. And maybe what you need to do is just disable all of the accounts. I'm going to disable this. You're going to see the contacts disappear. So these are the only ones that are on my Mac. See if that works. See if you have any problem with it. And then basically, unfortunately, what you're going to have to do is narrow it down to one of your accounts is probably
I
a
probably need to
contact.
delete a lot of old contacts anyway. So,
But
yeah,
that's
helpful. Thank you.
basically, yep. All right.
Dan, I'll probably just have to send you something
Okay.
so we can find out what calendar I have.
Okay.
Because it's just kind of confusing. So
It
thank
is.
you.
It is. I wouldn't say kind of. It is very, very confusing. All right, we've got time for one more. I see Bill has his hand up. Bill? No?
You just answered my
Oh,
question.
I'm sorry. Okay. Yep. All right. Well, let's. Yeah.
And I've got a report on the missing screenshots. It was, I had it going to desktop, and when I changed it to documents, they're all right there. I've done it about 10 times while you were
So
talking.
is the screen? It was saving them to a different spot. Awesome. Okay. Cool.
That's weird that it wouldn't accept desktop and keep them there.
Yeah. No.
Very weird. Thanks for the help.
Sure, no problem. I see Debbie asked in the chat, a Series 7 iPhone, can it be paired with an Apple Watch? I believe it can, yes. And which one to get for the ECG and pulse readings? Just don't get the cheapest one. The Series 3, let's see here. Series Apple. This is a really cool thing to do. Excuse me. I don't know how many people know, but in the Apple Store, you can compare. So, and with this, you can do it with anything here. But what's cool about this, I go to Mac. it gives you just a nice rundown, and you can compare exactly like what Debbie's talking about is which Apple Watch to get. So I'm going to go to Watch here, and instead of looking at them individually, go to Compare, and there we go. And I can set which one I want to compare to, but basically we can kind of see. And now what I do when I'm looking for a specific thing like ECG, I'll go Command F. I get a little find up here. And now all I do is go ECG. Okay, there's this.
There's the one.
Series 8 has it, and the Ultra has it. So stay away from the SE. Real simple. So you don't have to sit there and hunt and peck and like, oh, where is it?
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
No wonder it
This-
wouldn't work. Somebody bought her a SE.
Ah,
That didn't
yeah,
work. And
yeah,
I futzed with it and
yep,
it wasn't me. So we're taking it back and we're getting the other. So
Yep.
all's good. Thank you.
sure, no problem. All right, let's call that a wrap. So, thank you again for your support. And if you know anyone that could benefit from my site, let them know. I am, as I said in the beginning, I'm kind of wrapping up, kind of setting the site up. I hope everyone likes it. I'm pretty happy with it so far. I think I was able to speed it up a little bit last night. Now that I'm, kind of getting to the end of the tweaking, but I think it's a little easier to find stuff. And the forms are there for you. If you think of a form that we need, I can easily add those. And basically what we're able to do is kind of build a little bit of a discussion and share these different things that we find. And maybe what I'll do is I will put in there, if I find a thing with that keychain, I do have in my forums here a discussion group for my classes and webinars. So if I find something, what I'll do is I will add it in here and just take a look at that. And any updates that I do, you'll find under my microblog, and then you can kind of see, if there's been any updates. So that's a little bare bones how you kind of use the site. So, all right, thank you, everyone, and everyone have a good weekend. Next week, I'm going to be talking about Freeform, which is a pretty cool app, actually. I am, toying around with the idea of turning the website into an app if Apple will allow me to, and I'm going to use Freeform to draw my ideas. That's basically what I'm going to use is the Freeform app. It's kind of neat. So I'll be talking about that next week.
Hey, Dan?
Yeah.
Everybody should watch your tutorial or your tour of your website. It is so good.
Oh, thanks.
Yes, definitely.
Oh, good. If somebody else has seen it, it's
Yes.
Yeah,
Great tour.
I tried to. It's if you're not logged in, it's right there on the front. Whoops, it's right there on the front page. And as I mentioned in the beginning, the site is going through a little bit of a transition. I'm pretty happy with how things are going with it. But basically, I'm going to start creating longer videos with chapters in there, and also they will be back to device specific. So, Kevin is only on an iPad. My sister-in-law is on an iPad, but they don't have a Mac. So there's little things, people don't want to see all of it. So they can just kind of see what they want to see for their device. But it's going to be a little bit longer with chapters. So I think it's going to be good.
Question about Zoom, Dan. I noticed that, usually I have to ask to enable live transcript of the host, but at the moment I haven't had to do that on several Zooms that I've been on. I've just gone down to closed captions and enabled it, and it comes on for everyone. And I'm not the host.
I don't know. I put closed captions on all my videos. My closed caption is on my TV. I listen to a
in
little
your
music
session.
too loud, but I never turn it on for these webinars. Other people do, and I don't even. So thank you, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know how transcriptions work on here. So, all right.
Thank you.
We'll see everyone later. Let's call that a wrap.
okay. Thanks very much.
Thanks. Have a good weekend, everyone.
Bye.
You too.